What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday. And that's all right. We're Tuesday. Yeah, we're Tuesday. And welcome back to another episode of the Volleyball Source podcast. We have a very special guest today joining us from Kraljevo. Kraljevo? Is that how it works?
Kosovo, yeah.
All right. In Serbia. Today we have Mr. Nathan. Is it Delguidice?
Delguidice.
Delguidice. I've
Yeah.
I've definitely been mispronouncing that for a few years. So Delguidice, I'll know that from now. And Nathan has been playing for OK Ribnica in Serbia, and just this past Sunday they won their first ever Serbian Cup. First or second, depending how you look at it, because they won the Yugoslavian Cup back in 1978, and you were a huge instrumental part of that. You scored 23 points in the final, went absolutely bananas in the semifinal as well. Product of Cochrane, Ontario. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the crown of best volleyball player to come from Cochrane ever. And I think that may be accurate. Former Mohawk Mountaineer, former McMaster Marauder, just finished his first year pro. Nathan Delguidice, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here. Welcome from Serbia.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you just wrapped up your season. The season is still going. Unfortunately, you guys didn't quite make it to the semifinals, if I'm correct.
Correct.
So that's too bad. But you were able to wrap things up with a win in the cup final. Kind of let's touch on the cup final on Sunday. You knew it was going to be your last game of the season. You knew how to go with a bang. You did it with a 23-point performance. Did you get the MVP? I wrote that in my article that you won the MVP, but I was just kind of guessing based off of the score sheet, the fact that you outscored everyone else there.
No, I actually did not. Our captain got it.
A little bit of favoritism, I see.
Yeah. He did. He led us. He led us in that game in different ways. Like, I led in score, but he led in leadership and everything. Like, he's a big part of our team. He might not score the most, he might not, be the biggest guy, but for everyone else on our team, like, we're a pretty young team. So for him to come in and play that role, he played a good game.
Was this an expectation of this team coming in? Like, when you joined the team or back in 2020, was it the expectation like, hey, we want to be one of the best teams in the league, we want to win the Serbian Cup at the end of the year?
I actually had a conversation with one of my teammates about this. I think their expectation was to get to the quarterfinals in the league match. And I think the Serbian Cup as well. I'm not too sure, but yeah, definitely quarters.
I mean, they finished 9th last year at the Serbian Cup, so a jump up to 5th in the quarters definitely would have been an improvement. But you guys had to one up that and bring it, take home that first cup. It's too bad that it's COVID too, because my assumption that if you win the Serbian Cup, like, I feel like the party would be pretty crazy.
Like, even with COVID, the after party was pretty okay. It was good. It was different. Like, being in Serbia and everything, the whole experience with like how they celebrate and everything. I would say that the rules around here are a little more relaxed than Canada.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is there like a liquor or like a spirit or something that Serbia is known for? I'm just thinking vodka right now.
It's actually rakia.
Rakia. Okay, I've never
Rakia.
heard of this. Is it?
It's like it's the homemade drink that they make. It's like somewhere between vodka and whiskey.
What's it?
It's like
Like, what's the
sorry, what was
base of
that?
it? What's the base of it? Like, is it
Man, I can't even tell you.
just
Like,
some?
different people make it different ways. So it's really however whoever makes it is the way it goes. But
That's
it'll do the job, that's for sure.
that's fair enough. I'm sure you guys went through a few bottles of that on Sunday night. Now, before we get too involved in kind of with you and your path. You also got the privilege of playing with Zarko Ubiparip from the University of Guelph this year. How was that? Because I've never met Zarko. I've heard great things from him, from his coaches and stuff like that. But he is technically considered Serbian, right? Like his player passport is Serbian. It's not over even Canadian. So it must have been nice to have that kind of guy who had one foot in each world for you to kind of latch onto and help you along the way.
Yeah, he was actually he was considered a Canadian citizen when I got here, but he got his dual citizenship. I think this is the story that he got his dual citizenship so he could play with the Serbian national team. So he's staying here and he's going to train with the Serbian national team. But
okay.
all in all, like, yeah, um, yeah, I think they're going to announce that soon. But he is a standout guy. Like, I never knew him before. Like, even before I got this contract, I uh, messaged Dylan Romero Marshall. I was like, yo, ask your brother Noah, who played with him at Guelph. I was like, how is Zarko? Like, how is he as a dude? Like, is he a nice dude? And yeah, he's a nice dude. That's all I gotta say. He plays hard. He's a nice dude.
I mean, it looked like he was also the top passer for you guys in the final, scored 12 points of his own. So he, not only is he a nice dude, but it seems like he's getting the job done on the court. I'm pretty sure, obviously we don't want you to be speaking for him, but I'm pretty sure he actually signed a contract for next year as well for the same club.
Yeah, for the next 2 years, I believe.
Oh wow, good for him. That's awesome. I've never heard of that, of like someone Canadian going to play for another national team like that. It's usually it's because we're, in soccer it was always because we weren't good enough. You had Owen Hargreaves and other guys like that going to play for different countries. But now in volleyball it's because we're good. That's crazy to see. Now for you, what did you join this team a little bit late?
Yeah, I joined. I got here October 22nd. So I think it was like a week before that I signed, and a week before that I was a manager at Maple Leaf Foods.
No way. So
Yeah,
so you have an agent and they just called you up and they're like, hey, there's this potential contract, and you're like, all right, let's go to Serbia.
yeah. I was working my summer job. I was like, hey, like this is the deal. Like I'm trying to go pro right now. I need like a contract. I want a contract. And like there's a possibility that like, hey, I can pick up and leave like this. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So they were super cool with it too. Like they encouraged me and everything. So
Shout out Maple Leaf Foods.
they're pretty cool.
Was this in Cochrane?
No, this was in Hamilton. I stayed in Hamilton all summer, and COVID with COVID, I was trying to work out and everything. I took a lot of rest. I probably rested for like 2 months or something like that. Didn't jump, didn't do anything. And then when society basically opened up again, I went hard in the gym, and it helped me tremendously. I think I gained a few pounds. As soon as I got here, I basically got here October 22nd, I think. And I think that was a Wednesday, and I played on the Friday. Like, haven't touched the ball in 6 months, haven't done, I've been working hard for 2 months, working out, get here, 2 practices, basically traveled for 24 hours, got here, 2 practices, game. And I think I hit something like 60%. I don't remember how many points I got, but I was up in the top three, I think, top three guys. And I was surprised with myself. I was like, oh, all right, this is how it's going to be.
Wow, that's crazy. And all right, before we jump into everything, I kind of want to go back to the beginning, because as we talked about, if you're listening to this hey, maybe you might even be Canadian and you may not know where Cochrane, Ontario is, because it has about, I think I looked online, it has about 5,000 people, the population about 5,000.
Correct.
Yeah, and it is northern Ontario, like an hour north of Timmins. It's halfway between Timmins and Moosonee, so you're almost at Hudson Bay. And I wrote my first article that, Cochrane is more known for hockey and polar bears than ever about volleyball. So how did you get into volleyball? Like, what was that first step to get you here?
I think my first step to get me here was trying to get out of school playing sports. Um, it's pretty funny to say. I did everything in school to play sports, and like I don't know, I was playing volleyball, badminton in the early season, golf. Like I made the only golf team at my school. I was like asked a few guys, asked a teacher, I was like, hey, like this is what I want to do. And kept going. And then hockey was the main sport obviously I played growing up. And even my dad, we were we were playing Neoa, which is the regional qualifiers for OFSA, and there was a snow day. That's how far north we are, right? There was a snow day on the qualifier day for OFSA. So the tournament got pushed back one day to the Friday, and that Friday we were supposed to leave to Sault Ste. Marie to go play in a hockey tournament. I asked my dad, I was like, hey, like my team needs me to play in like this tournament, like to qualify for OFSA. Like this is my senior year. I want to play volleyball. Like I want to play this and go to OFSA, which was held in St. Catharines that year. And he was like, no, like this is hockey. What are you talking about? Volleyball. What's volleyball? And then I was like, all right. So I missed that tournament and went to Sault Ste. Marie. Thank God those guys qualified for OFSA, because that's where Canada or college ended up scouting me first. And that's where Eric Young got a hold of me, right? So yeah, that was like looking back now, I don't think my dad realized that. And shout out to my dad because he'll definitely be listening to this. But yeah, I remember that vividly in my memory. So
I mean,
it's
I'm sure at this point, after your first year of professional volleyball, your dad's 100% in your corner now, eh?
yeah, 100%.
I, I, how was, like, because I was the same way growing up, played hockey and volleyball, and I always know that the reception in the hockey dressing room around me playing volleyball was maybe not the best. Was that the same for you, or were the guys in your dressing room a little bit cooler about it?
Uh, honestly, most of the guys I played hockey with, some of them played volleyball too, but at the English school because I was at the French school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And yeah,
Did you ever play at
so
a
yeah, like,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead. I can ask it afterwards.
So yeah, like most of those guys played volleyball for the English school and played for the French school. I didn't have any teammates that played volleyball, um, that were on my hockey team as well, but like everyone was cool with it. So
Oh, that's great. You said you went to a French school. Did you ever go to a tournoi franco?
at McMaster,
Oh,
and we stayed at the Mohawk residence. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure I was on the same floor as I was for residence when I actually went to Mohawk. That's how crazy it was.
wow, that's crazy. Tournoi francos are a different beast because it's just this random amalgamation of all of the French schools in Ontario, and yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like we took a coach bus from Cochrane. We stopped in Yurko Falls, which is like half an hour south from us. So we picked them up on the way to Hamilton, and yeah, it was a crazy experience. It was definitely one I won't forget.
That's like what was it about volleyball that made you want to pick it over hockey? Was it, did you see like a path forward for yourself in volleyball that like, hey, maybe I can, I definitely probably not going pro, but like, hey, I can go play in college for this.
It was for me, it was between volleyball and golf that I wanted to go forward and play post secondary, whatever that meant for golf, NCAA or um, D1 or D2. Like that was my goal. But then I got offers for volleyball, like everything, like Canador, Eric Young, and then eventually Mohawk. So I think looking back at it, it was just I wanted to go play a sport in post secondary, like at a higher level, and not just, like high school and whatnot.
That's fair. So we've mentioned that recruiting process a couple times. We've mentioned Eric Young a couple times. For those who know, it might be funny because Eric Young is actually the head coach of the Nipissing Lakers. Now, you have never played for the Nipissing Lakers. From what I understand, I guess Canada spotted you at OFSA, and I know that Eric Young is very, very strong at recruiting in Northern Ontario. Nipissing being the perfect school to go for anyone from the north. And I remember him telling me about you kind of he's like, oh, I've got this kid. He's real raw, but real physical and athletic from Cochrane. And, I don't think he's quite like he could come play for us. And I think he'd do all right. But I really want to go see what he can do in the OCAA first. And so if I'm correct, he hooked you up with Matt Schnarr at Mohawk College. And you went to go play 2 or 3 years? 2 years at Mohawk?
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. And, while you were there, Mohawk at the time was a nationally ranked CCAA school. Did you win an OCAA championship? I'm pretty sure you did.
We did at Mohawk, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And then, all while this was happening, of course, Mr. Dave Preston at the McMaster University is kind of looking down the road and being like, oh, well, who's this kid? And I mean, I remember speaking to Eric Young about it, and he was obviously a little bit upset, but also understandable. I personally have a great amount of respect for what Eric Young has done with that Nipissing program. I love it, but I mean, if McMaster comes knocking, you want to go play for McMaster.
Yeah. So I actually owe basically like looking back at it, I owe Eric a lot, like a lot of respect and everything, right? He's the one that got me here. He's the one that got me to Matt, like up north, right? Like you mentioned that. I actually played high school with two of those former Nipissing guys, Randy Beauchamp and McPherson.
Okay.
So I played against those guys in high school. So I knew those guys going that they signed with Nipissing and everything. I knew them when I was going to Mohawk and then whatnot. But yeah, like great guy, Eric. Like you said, he's doing wonders at that Nipissing program. And yeah, Dave came knocking, so I was, pretty happy with that. But even at Mohawk, we won silver my first year at Seneca College. I think that's where the OCAA was being hosted. And then my second year at Mohawk, which was actually pretty cool, winning on your home turf.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it kind of took off from there. And I didn't know how physical I was until I got to college when Matt was like, oh my God, man, like you could hit it over these guys. Like, why don't you just hit it over these guys? I didn't realize I could do that. So I was like, I guess I could try. So every practice, it was Adam Sheedle saying, hit it deep, hit it deep.
That's
high and deep. Yeah.
Sheets coming in with the advice. Like that's what's crazy
Yeah.
for me to have like seen your development. And you know, I think in the volleyball world we've always seen that kid who comes in a little bit later, a little bit more raw. Um and they generally always fizzle out, but for you, you kind of took that next step. And what's crazy to me is that the step that you took from last year to this year is your most drastic one, and you did it in a pro setting. Um, like your was it 37 points that you scored in the semifinal? Yeah. So
Yeah.
you scored 37 points, but it was how crazy was the efficiency for me that you did it at. And if you go back to last year's OUA semifinal where you guys lost to Queens at MAC, you were an error machine. Like I think you scored 10 plus errors. And like there was multiple games that you scored, big numbers, nothing like that. Never a 23-point game like you had on Sunday, never a 37-point game, and both of these matches you're playing at such a hugely efficient rate. So like, what happened to you in quarantine where you went from being like a pretty good CIS player? You were a second team All Canadian last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So still a pretty good CIS player, but to being like one of the best players in a professional league.
It was a crazy step. Um, like I knew in the university level, like I thought I was pretty good. I knew I was making a lot of errors, but I would make some crazy kills and stuff like that. And then coming here, I my first few matches were pretty good, but then I ended up getting COVID and I didn't play for 2 weeks or something like that, early November. And then I came back to practice and I was hitting everything out. I was hitting everything with my wrist. It was horrendous for about a month, I would say. And
You got
all
that
the
that
while, like,
COVID curse, eh?
yeah, no games were being played though, because the whole league was basically on shutdown. Like, COVID was bad everywhere. So it was all practice. And our captain on the court, he's a little passionate. Let's just say passionate.
I mean, all Serbians are. That's like
Yeah.
that's the MO of all of Serbians in general. Um,
But yeah, like I think a few practices, he would just look me in the eye and be like, "Come on, man, let's do it." And I'd look back at him and was like, "Yeah, you're right. Like I gotta step it up here." And then um, we were scrimmaging another team in the league below us, and I once again was playing bad. I wasn't doing what I was doing previously. Um, and then I got pulled and I got a little earful from our coach, and then I got put back in right away. And I think that's where everything started clicking. Like I came out, I started getting fed like a bunch of balls, and that's where I just started rolling. Like I was just making point after point after point, and then everything just started clicking. And after that, I was playing in games, and I was like, oh, like this is not bad. I'm only making 3 errors a game now and getting blocked 3 times on average. I was like, this is new. Like I usually don't do this. This is a good feeling. Let's keep it up.
that's crazy. It's crazy. Like you like survived and like thrived through the trial by fire. They like and once again, like I have quite a few Serbian friends. And when I was growing up in the OVA, and I mean, I'm sure there is quite a few still in the OVA, but there's quite a few Serbians around Ontario playing volleyball, and I know that they're very passionate and that they speak to each other in a very direct manner, and that it's very some might call it demanding, but that's just how they are. So you really needed that like switch to being like, hey, now let's go. I almost feel like it's kind of like when Schnarr was telling you back in the day that like you can hit over these guys. Did you kind of like have that realization that like, hey, Like, even though this is professional ball, I'm still out here, I'm still big, and I'm still able to crush it?
Yeah, like I'm not the I wouldn't say I'm the tallest guy around, but I do jump pretty all right. Um,
And you've got those Kevin Durant arms too. You've got those arms that are long. You've got a wingspan that's longer than your body for sure.
yeah, I would say so. Uh, it's pretty funny that you say that because I remember just playing with Matthew Paslint, and he just has the longest arms ever, right? So I'd always compare myself to him, and I'm like, all right, like I'm just this short guy. Like we're probably the same height, but he has like 2-3 inches of wingspan on me, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. Um, but yeah, like I was just, I think just my shot making was getting better. And I wouldn't say that my hand on ball was getting better, but it wasn't to the point where I was blowing everything out the back or out the side. So
That's what I was
I
gonna
think that,
ask. I was gonna ask, is like, how's your hand on ball? Because it was, and it makes complete sense if you didn't grow up playing club volleyball. You haven't played as much, that you don't, your contact isn't as clean, and I always had that notion that, like, you could either go off for games where you're just like feeling it, or there's other games where the contact just wasn't there, and it was kind of like, watch out because no one's safe, because that ball could be flying at some points.
yeah, you're completely right when it comes to that feeling. That feeling, like when I had that 37-point game, I couldn't miss. Like it was whatever I would do, and it was right. And it's something that you just feel. And when you're off, and it's just that feeling's not there. So uh, it's really confidence at that point. Like roll into the gym, get fed most of the balls, and then you're like, yeah, your confidence is up there. And when they go away from you, you're like, all right, I haven't gotten the ball in a while. Like, what's going on? This, that could happen, and yeah, yeah.
Can I ask about last season? Because last season was your last one in U Sports. Um, all right. I feel like, in a lot of ways, if you look at it externally, I feel like some would say that it was a disappointing season for McMaster volleyball. They didn't even you guys didn't even make the final. If you look at the Can-Am tournament, that where you guys went 0-3 the entire time. However, that being said, I've said this before, that I think that last year might have been the perfect time for you guys to surprise everyone and win a national championship. Do you believe that?
I really do believe that. I know our team last year, like we had some ups and downs, but man, when we were all clicking, it was some really good volleyball to watch and to play, because you got Craig Ireland on the left, Matty P on the left, me on the right, Doty's doing what Doty does, and then middles, we had a lot of middles that could do a lot of things. So it was, I remember playing Western, and um, I can't remember the score of that game. It was our second half of the season, and we kind of took over that game. And in the dressing room, Dave came into the room, and he was like, their coach just said that we could beat anyone in the country if we played like we did that night. And we were like, yeah, we agree. Like if we play like that, we could really do some damage. And I think it was showed pretty good when we played Trinity Western after the Can-Am tournament. Like that's like we were clicking, and it was good. Felt nice.
Yeah, I think that the matchups against, especially U of T, for you guys weren't the greatest. Or no, wait, you guys played. Never mind, you guys played Queens in
Queens,
the
yeah.
semis, but the matchup there wasn't the greatest. But yeah, I truly feel like, and legitimately, I even told this to Ben Josephson, and I was like, you know what? Like, watch out for McMaster, because if there was a scenario where you guys played Trinity Western in the finals or in at nationals, I feel like maybe 9 times. Okay, 8 because you guys did beat them at Christmas. 8 times Trinity Western plays you, they might beat you. But I feel like, especially because you guys would be going in with none of the usual pressure that past McMaster teams had. It was always the best team in Ontario going up against the best team of the Canada West, and McMaster was just never able to push it through. But I feel like last year, with that roster that you had, as you mentioned, the Lanks on either side with yourself and Passelin, and then Craig Ireland, I feel like it could have done something special, and I'm still sad to this day that we got robbed of that opportunity when COVID killed the national championship, which was basically like a year ago.
Yeah, yeah, it was sad to hear. Like we were in Manitoba and everything. It was our banquet night.
Oh, I remember. I was there. I was at Garth's and like a retirement ceremony, and I'm standing in the
Yeah,
crowd. And as I'm standing in the crowd, Steve Brinkman, who is your assistant coach, and he goes, "Hey, I've got breaking news for you. The event's canceled." And I'm like, "No." And I like look across the bar, and I see that like Preston looks devastated. Dave McAllister from U of T looks devastated. John Barrett's like part of the whole ceremony, so he doesn't know yet. Like Garth is on the stage talking about getting ready to play for tomorrow, and is probably is getting gearing up, and just devastating. What was it like for you guys and the players? Like, was there any interaction between like the different teams and stuff like that, or because my sense is that it was kind of like, okay, like we're getting our asses home right now.
yeah. Like I don't remember really talking to other teams. I just remember meeting with our team, and it was just like, all right, like we got the first flight out tomorrow. Like we're leaving. Like we got to go back home and be safe, kind of thing.
And that's just it. That's the end of your season.
Yeah, it was seniors. Sorry this is happening, but we're going home. Yeah,
That's heartbreaking. That's devastating.
yeah, yeah,
It's a little frustrating too because you guys had already had your guys' like banquet and stuff like that. Like you had already all practiced. Like if there was any infection that was going to be happening, like it had already happened. But ah, who's to say? Now at that point,
yeah,
like at that point, could you have known that? Like at that point, I'm guessing you knew you wanted to go pro.
yeah. So I first knew I wanted to go pro. Was after I would say between my first and second year of college, like the goal was to go pro. I
Okay.
didn't know if I was able to reach it, but the goal was to go pro. And then I told Dave when I spoke with him the first time, I was like, my goal is to play professional volleyball. And he's like, all right, let's get you there. I was like, all right.
I mean, that's when there's very few people better in the world, in my opinion, to talk to, and if that's your goal, and Dave Preston's there, like, hey, yeah, let's walk you through this, then like, all right, let's get going because he is definitely one of the best in Canada, and in my opinion, also one of the best in the world for that.
I would agree. Yeah, like just watching Dave, not watching him, but like telling me all these things, and I'm like, I was raw. Like you said, it came out of Cochrane, right? No OVA, no club, no nothing. Like I didn't even know any leagues over in Europe. So I was coming to college. I don't know, 17 when I first got there. So
I mean,
like it
that
was
that must have been like a culture shock in itself, moving from Cochrane to Hamilton at 17 years old, and all of a sudden you're on the volleyball team and all of these things. Like I have one of my friends when I played at Algonquin was from Kenora, and
yeah,
Kenora is nowhere near as small and as north as Cochrane. So I couldn't imagine what that culture shock was like.
yeah, it was one of those things where you go to Vaughan Mills Mall and you're kind of uncomfortable because there's just a huge crowd and you just kind of go with the flow. But I think I took it a lot more different than other people would. I kind of, I would say, embraced it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I know a lot of my friends from north. They stay north. Like my brother was the same way. Like he didn't go anywhere south. He went to Sault Ste. Marie for college, and then he went back home to be a heavy duty mechanic. So like teach their own success, right? So
Absolutely. And then, so like, obviously playing, how was that adjustment for you from going from college ball to university ball? Because going from, like, in college ball, you can be successful just being raw. You can successful just being physical and powerful, and especially playing for a program like Mohawk. They had all of the other pieces around you. Like, I believe you played with Chris Spack.
yeah,
You played with Spack and Dish It. I'm sure you played with Eric Gerard as well. Like, there was a bunch of nice pieces around you, but then you make that jump up to McMaster, and it's not only the jump from college ball to university ball, but it's jumping from college ball to one of the best university programs in Canada. So, really didn't become a full time starter until your fifth year.
yeah. So like you said, you could be. I was just athletic, and I was scoring in the OCAA. I remember my first practice with Mac. It was, I think, right before exam season for McMaster, and Danny Demienko was practicing with us, and um, I was hitting high balls, which like we wouldn't really practice that much. It wasn't like a priority at Mohawk, but at Mac, out of system game, you got to have that. So we were doing that. I was hitting high balls, and Danny was just clamping me every time, and I was like, all right, like I don't know what to do. Like, and in the back of my head, I was like, can I play at this level? Like, and then like one time I blew him up, and I was like, all right, that felt good. Like I think I could play at this level. So it was definitely a huge jump. Like I was raw, just athletic, and then when I got to Mac, it was technique and tactical, mental, and all that stuff. And I was like, that's stuff I had to learn. Like coach taught me that. Dave taught me that. So it was a huge step for me for sure.
Through your short volleyball career, I feel like you've had some exceptional, like, coaches and mentors. Even as you talked about going back to Eric Young, who you had no direct contact with, like, those are three men that I hold in the highest regard of volleyball. So you're extremely lucky to have gone through the pathway that you did.
Yeah, like I would owe everything because without those guys, like those guys are probably the guys that saw the potential that what I could be kind of thing. And like even to this day, like even now, like I'm not the most aggressive blocker, like especially in our game last Sunday. Like our captain was like, man, be more aggressive blocker. And I was kind of just putting up a wall for them to hit around me so we could play defense. So it was like that's one thing I want to learn. And my defense is like I just got so much room. Like looking back, I could grow my game some more too, and I want to do that. Like I want to just keep climbing. So it's like those guys got me there, and I'm gonna kind of take the ball and roll with it.
Might as well, right? Like, could you have imagined this type of performance when you got to Serbia at the beginning of the year?
No, I don't think so. Like even the 37-point game, I don't think I've even processed what I did to this day.
Like, dude, that's straight up. That's a game that you are going to remember for the rest of your life, right? Like, that
Yeah,
is like you did it against Partizan as well too. And if
yeah,
if you're Canadian and you don't know about the European sports scene, Partizan is one of the biggest clubs in all of Serbia, and it's basketball, they play soccer, they play volleyball. So you're doing it against the big dogs. That's pretty big time.
yeah. It was just so fun, and like I enjoyed it. Like every game that I've played good. Like I've just enjoyed the process. Like I'm out there stress free, smile on my face, and just even my captain was like, "Man, you're just playing with no stress right now." And like, yeah, I mean, I think that's when I play my best, so might as well.
That's awesome. Looking forward to next year. Do you have do you have a contract yet? Are you in the talks? What can you tell us? Because my assumption
Um,
is that you've got some interested parties now after you've put up these numbers.
I yeah, I think so. It's in the works right now, so I don't even know what's. It could go either way right now next season, and I just want to get somewhere and play ball. So we'll see what happens. That's all I'm gonna say right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I respect that. I talked to Eric Lepke last week and I asked him the same thing. He couldn't give me anything either, so I respect that. Real quick, are you like a mini celebrity in Cochrane? Because I've posted two articles about you this week on my website, and I've got more hits in Cochrane than anywhere else but Toronto in Canada. So like, are you like a mini celebrity there? Because you said that there's 5,000 people that live in that town, and I'm pretty sure half of them came to my website.
Yeah. Um, like I reposted it on Facebook for my family to see, and it kind of
It blew
just
up, eh?
yeah, yeah, it kind of went somewhere, right? And like the Cochrane Times, I think it's called, or something like that. They're the local newspaper. Like right after that article that you posted, they got in contact with me, and then I literally just saw that it was in the Sudbury Times or something like that, Sudbury Post. I was like, what is that doing there? Like, it's a little bigger than Cochrane.
Hey, let's
Um,
go. We've got like a northern celebrity here.
yeah, me and Tim Hortons, the only professionals to come out of Cochrane.
Tim Horton?
Yeah, Tim Horton was Cochranite.
No way.
Yep,
You and Tim Horton. They're the
yep.
only two professional athletes to come out of Cochrane.
That I'm aware of. Yes.
That's massive. So you're telling me that they're gonna have a statue of Tim Horton, and a statue of you, like bronze side by side. He's gonna be sitting there with his hockey stick, maybe a dozen donuts underneath one arm, and you're gonna be sitting there, crushing balls.
I mean, the difference between me and Tim Hortons is that he played hockey and is Tim Hortons.
I mean,
So like the hockey arena is named after him. You got that stuff going for him.
so we need
Maybe
to push for the gym. Just the recreational gym, basketball court, volleyball court, badminton nets. The works. To be put
yeah,
to the Nason Delguidice gym. That's what we need. Cochrane, let's get on it. I know you guys are listening
yeah,
because I'm sure he's going to be sharing this, and the entire freaking town is going to be out here. Like,
yeah.
man, like what?
Like after the gold medal match, like I got messages from my family being like, "We watched, like, congrats," and like I'm gonna be going back there. Like I'm leaving here Friday, quarantining in Cochrane for 2 weeks afterwards. So I'm gonna see all my family, and I imagine that we'll be getting together and having some good times and good stories about rakia and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna be bringing some of that Serbian liquor back to share with the fam in
I def
Cochrane.
I definitely got a bottle.
Maybe you should get a few. I feel like the folks in Cochrane are hardy folks that could drink go through a couple bottles of
Uh,
rakia.
you, you're very correct. It is true.
I feel like this is the beginning of something great for volleyball in Cochrane. Like let's start a club. Let's get it going. All on your influence.
I definitely think about going back and coaching if I like my end goal, my end career is like if for whatever reason volleyball doesn't work out, I want to be a police officer. And being from up north, I'll probably get posted back up north. So if I ever do go back up north, I want to coach and help out, you know. help boost volleyball to that next level in Northern Ontario.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I definitely think that we need more role models like yourself who come from the northern region to see that, hey, it's a possibility, and it's a very real possibility. Like, obviously, not every kid is going to have the story like you, where you're going pro and you're dropping 37 points as a rookie in cup games. However, even just your ability to go to Mohawk and go to McMaster, and just that path coming from Cochrane is massive. And there's plenty of small towns in that area: Timmins, Hearst, Kapuskasing. It goes on, and I'm sure that we could find plenty of kids who are, pretty good hockey players that could also be very good volleyball players.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll start it on the revolution of your back. Do you find that, like, your hockey experience helped you play volleyball?
Um, it definitely helped with the athleticism. Um, like I even in hockey, I played different roles. Like growing up, I was a center. Getting a little older, I was a defenseman. I think my last 2 years, I was a goalie. I made that transition.
All right.
Um, so I wouldn't say that being a goalie helped my defensive skills, but
Yeah.
it,
Hockey goalie, you're trying to knock everything down and get it away from you, and that skill doesn't transfer. However, I would see that, like, I've always seen this as well, and this is why I think that Canadians are actually pretty good at volleyball. Is that playing hockey, we process information a lot quicker than other sports, and hockey is just so much faster than basketball or soccer or football, that we're attuned to having to make those quick decisions, and that's why volleyball is a little bit easier, because volleyball is plenty of those quick decisions.
yeah, yeah, it really is.
Uh, oh, sorry. I've been drinking tea and I like choked on my tea my tea a little bit there. Um, Real quick, just like to touch on Cochrane again. You mentioned, like, when did you start playing volleyball? I meant to ask this question kind of way at the beginning.
Mm,
It never actually came out of my mouth, so I want to double back to it now. Like, is this something that you started maybe casually playing in, like, grade 7 and 8 just for fun at school, and kind of always did, and then it wasn't until kind of 18 that you started being like, hey, like, I want to get serious with this?
uh, it was actually grade 7 and 8. We actually had volleyball teams um, to kind of funnel into our high school teams. Like I know from grade 7, I played with the same 7 guys throughout high school.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
like
how
it was only 7 of us on that team, but
yeah.
um,
I mean, how big was your graduating class of a French school in Cochrane?
23, I believe, is the number.
23, like,
Yeah.
girls and boys.
Yeah, I think it was around 4 girls and the rest all guys, or six
No
girls or something like
way.
that. Yeah,
Those poor girls.
yeah. So yeah, that's life in Cochrane for you.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. How different is Serbia from Cochrane? Or are you able to find parallels?
No, no, I don't think I've found um, no similarities. Not that realize right now, anyways, because I had first few months I had trouble with the language barrier. Um, Especially in practice. Like, there's only 4 guys on our team that speak English and
Mm.
not very well. Like, Zarko is fluent, obviously. So, like, it was me and him talking a lot, and me and my setter talking a lot because he also played other places in Europe. So, um, like drill to drill, I'll be like, which drill is this? Which one is this? Like, what are we doing? What did he just say? Anyone want to translate that for me? So, yeah.
Did you, like, start to learn, like, do you have any, like, choice Serbian phrases? A lot of brate, I'm guessing.
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah. Um, Especially because I'm French, my R's are a lot different than Serbian R's. So it's even when I say brate, like my Serbian friends are like, yeah, man, that's French. That's French. I'm like, yep, sorry. And yeah, I think the first few words that I got were swear words, obviously.
Naturally, I feel like that's
Naturally.
has to be.
Yeah. And then it was like, thanks, ciao, uh, just your basics, like sorry, like I'd miss a serve and then it would be like, sorry, sorry, sorry. And then get a few laughs out of the coach because I probably pronounced it wrong and then go on with the game.
Great. Is there any other places that you're looking at? Be like, man, it'd be cool to play there.
Sorry, you cut out there. What
Oh,
was that?
is there any other locations, countries, cities, whatever that you look at and you're like, hey, it'd be pretty cool to play there?
I think France, just because of my French background and like there's a few all-star Canadians that are playing there. Um, I would one day like to play in France. Other than that, I haven't really thought about it. Maybe Germany would be cool to go play in, and like bringing my game up to those levels. That would be nice. Like I know what I could do in this league. Like I want to know what I could do in those leagues.
I've always wondered. Maybe after a few years, we'll touch back into you and you can kind of compare the leagues for us because, for me, it's kind of like you got your Italy at the top, and then you've got your Poland and Russia, and then you've
Yeah,
got your Turkey, Germany, and France kind of in that next area. But what comes after that? Do we go to Serbia? Do we go to Slovenia? Maybe Czech Republic? I don't know.
yeah, that was kind of my understanding. Like I was trying to being here, I was trying to gauge what level we were playing at so I could even try to compare to those other guys, like Lefty playing in Italy, like BK playing with him, and obviously Mar playing in Italy. Um, I was trying to gauge, and it was the same thing. It was Italy, Russia, and Poland kind of going hand in hand, and then Turkey. And then I was under the impression it was like a Czech underneath there. Um, Apparently, Romania is up there this year, pretty good league. Um, Sorry, Germany is obviously up there as well with France and whatnot. But then we were kind of near Slovakia, I believe, like in that like 5 or 6 level.
It's weird because the like Serbian national team is so strong,
Yeah,
and their league isn't as strong just because all of their top guys go and play elsewhere.
yeah, like it's pretty crazy too. Like I got here maybe 3 to 2 days before Euros left to go play in China, I believe. And like
Kovacevic.
yeah, he was practicing here with this team, and like I just missed him by 2 days, kind of thing. And
That would be sick.
um, like our setter is Liznik's godfather.
Well, Lishniak, he originally he
Yeah,
came out
sorry.
of he
Yeah,
he came out of that club, didn't he?
yeah. So does Eurosh, and um, sorry, I'm butchering his name, obviously, but uh, he came out of here, and like big names played here when they were younger, and then they moved on. Like I'm under the impression that Krausevo was like produces good volleyball players at the national level.
I mean,
Um,
I'm pretty sure they do too. I mean, just right there, Juros Kovacevic and Sreko Lishniak are two of the best in the world, right? So yeah,
yeah,
that's you're in good company. I mean, hey, that seems like it's a great place for you to start your career, especially if you're dropping 37-point games and leading teams to cup victories. I feel like that's going to go a long way in any potential contract negotiations. I mean, like they've pretty much qualified for the Champions League now. Like they'll have to go through qualifying and stuff like that, but they'll be either a part of the Champions League or the CEV Cup next year.
Yeah. So that's super exciting. It's a good thing to have on my resume, that's for sure. And it's exciting to see where I can take this and whatnot.
That's crazy, dude. Congratulations. I really mean that, dude. Like that's obviously you've done something to, figure it out, and whatever you did, man, that's good for you because putting up the number of points that you did this season doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't even happen sometimes for the best of players. And obviously, look, dude, looks like the sky's the limit for you.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, dude, I'm sure it's getting late there. It's getting to be about 10 p.m. Really appreciate you taking the time. Really enjoyed talking to you. Once again, really super stoked that we've got someone from Northern Ontario who's representing on the volleyball scene. I always love when we've got the people from small towns because obviously we've got tons of people from Toronto or London or Calgary or stuff like that. But yeah, it's cool to see people coming out of places like Cochrane and playing volleyball and having a massive amount of success. So congratulations. Enjoy the rest of your time in Serbia. Safe trip home. I'm sure you'll have a bunch of parties to go to once you get back to Cochrane. Before we get out though, is there anyone you want to say hi to? Anyone you give it a shout out to?
I already gave a shout out to my dad, right?
Yeah,
He'll be listening to this.
Your dad got in there.
Yeah, of course. My mom, of course, sitting in good old Cochrane. And then the only other person I could think of is Maya Sokolowski, that is at McMaster right now. So that's the only.
Is that the girlfriend?
It is. It is. And she'll definitely be listening to this too. And she'll probably yell at me for pronouncing her last name very wrong. So yeah, I'll get ready for that.
That's a Polish last name. You're not getting very lucky with those Eastern Bloc names, dude.
No, I gotta really start pronunciating my words better.
Hey man, you're from Cochrane, so we'll let it slide. Guys, once again, really appreciate Nathan Delguidice of this year of Ribnica Kraljevo. I can't pronounce it. We'll get some Serbian guys to come in here and teach me. Alexa Milinovic, I'm looking at you, buddy. But yeah, guys, really appreciate you taking the time to check it out. Nathan, make sure you keep me in touch of what's going on with you next year, so I know when to announce your next signing. Once again, super stoked for you, dude, and have a safe trip back home to Canada.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Have a good one, dude. Peace. Thanks a lot, guys.
Ciao.